All right, so today I'm going to go over step 2 for your name designs, where you need to be adding value and color. And what you see in front of you are some examples of artwork that my past students have created. This one here says Lily, and Lily colored in her letters using color pencils and marker on the outside. And when she did the color pencil work, she really looked on blending color pencils together along with pressing hard and pressing lightly with the color pencils to create value. And when she was designing her name design, she also thought about warm colors versus cool colors in this whole transition, which I thought was a nice effect. So, and you can see these little highlights here that she did with an eraser on top of the color pencil. In order to create that value, for example, I'm just going to show you here really quickly using a light blue and a dark blue color pencil. If you shade lightly, and I can zoom in for you so you can see better. And if you shade, I'm pressing kind of lightly. I go really light. And then I can come in and I keep going over and over it until I'm making it even. And then over here on the right side, I'm going to go darker to help blend this value from light to dark. And then I go darker over here and I can keep layering it. So that's just with pressure. It's called line weight also. In art, we call it line weight. Where I'm very softly over here on the left because I want a lighter value of blue. And if I want a darker value, I will press it down harder on this side to get more blue, a darker blue. That's how Lily was able to accomplish that value from light to dark. Also, she blended. So I'm going to show you I did dark blue, and now over here I'm going to put in some light blue. I'm going to also go light, press really, really softly. And then I'm going to go in and go darker and press harder and harder until I get like the nice solid rich colors. See how it starts to make it like a blue-green, like a pretty blue. And over here I want a little bit more dark, so I can go back with the dark blue now and shade nicely and try to make it nice and even. And notice my direction. In order to get this type of look with your marks, you got to go in the same direction. If that's not the look you want, you don't have to. I can go and shade in with squiggles, with squiggle marks, and get the same idea. I press harder on this dark side, and if I want it lighter, I just let up lighter. And I could do squiggle lines as for shading and get the same idea from light to dark. And I can go now and add another layer of the light blue, light to dark. And the cool thing about value is that it makes things look a little bit more three-dimensional and gives it more depth and contrast. So that's also a very good thing. Another thing about value and a way to see value is by squinting your eyes, look through your eyelashes, and if you look through your eyelashes, you can really easily see dark to light. If you're looking at it through your eyelashes, you can kind of see the value a little bit more like a filter. Also, when you're shading with color pencils or crayons or markers, you want to think about what I call craftsmanship. And I have this poster on my board. And you can see here different types of shading using crayon, marker, color pencil, and watercolor or paint. Step 1, I think we're beyond this level. We all can try to push ourselves to shade in the level of 3 and 4. When you start shading in these types of solid values, it's also a lot neater and you get more color and value, which is what Lily did in her piece. I think I would count hers as a 4 as far as shading, and she used color pencils, which is right in this level right here. So when you start to shade, Try to fill in all your white spots. You don't want zigzag scribbles. You want nice, solid, or more defined shapes of color. So let's always try to push for our 3 and 4 in craftsmanship of shading. Over here, you see this other student of mine. Her name was Bushra. Bushra did an abstract graffiti name as well. And here she did markers, color pencils, and she was really, really neat about her edges and staying inside her shapes and coloring it in and thinking about color. So when you do shade with a marker, you want to think about staying inside your shapes. So if I go and outline like my letter D, try to stay inside the letter D, and I can go in and shade in my shape. And if you come out, you can always kind of redefine it and define their edge again. Another technique you can also do is you can mix the two materials together. Like on the letter E here, I was showing an example of outlining with the marker and then shading in with the color pencil. So, and I'm coloring in, I'm thinking about shading in and coloring, shading, coloring in, filling in, whatever you want to call it, with a level 3 or a level 4 of craftsmanship. Another technique you can explore in your name design is painting. Painting is a lot of fun, and I want to allow you to explore this material. Our first material or type of paint you're going to use are called temper cakes. These are all temper cakes here on the left, and I need you to be really, really cautious about keeping these paints clean. And the way you do that is always make sure you clean the brush in between colors. So here's your water. Always go to the bottom of the water bowl. Notice how I'm moving the bristles around on the bottom. The hairs of the bristles are moving, and it's cleaning the bristles. If you just go on the top like this, that's not going to do anything. The paint is still going to stay in between the hairs of the brush. You want to go to the bottom and move that paint out. So make sure you do that in between colors. So you just take a little bit of water. I'll leave this here so you can see it. And let's say I'm going to go for yellow. I'm going to rub a little water on top of my yellow cake. Notice I am not soaking my cake. I am just lightly watering it. And then I can go in and start to paint in my letter. And a really cool technique to learn in the world of painting, especially when you're trying to paint inside your shapes, is you want to use the edge of the brush. Notice how I'm taking the edge of the brush and the edge of the line of the letter D, and I'm lining it up. And I'm staying inside that line. And to be honest, this square brush is probably too big to paint that D. I'm going to go and get a pointy brush. Dip in a little water, rub the yellow cake. Now I have my brush with paint. Now I want to line it up with the edge. I need a little bit more water. Line it up with the edge, and I'm going to create my edge, a nice straight line. And I'm only focused on looking there. I don't really care right now what's happening in the middle. I care what's happening on the edge of that letter. And I'm focusing really hard at keeping that brush on the edge. Now I'm going to go to the other side. Line it up with the edge and paint my letter. You'll notice that when there's no more color happening, there's no more paint on your brush. You just have to go grab more. And I slowly stay in. Now you can also create value with these paints as well, from dark to light. If you're thinking about value in your design, you can just add more water. With these paints, they're kind of like watercolor. If you add water, you're going to get lighter. Notice I don't even have to add a lot more water. Just one time I dipped it in the water itself, and I have enough color on that brush to spread around. And you can also create a dark to light effect. When you do shade your letters today, or color in your letters, I do want you to think about light to dark to create this value and practice your value scales and to create this 3D effect like Lily did, either using color pencils, markers, or watercolor today. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, I'm going to be walking around to help you. Raise your hand. I will come and show you again one by one. And in the end, make sure you take care of our art materials because they are ours to share and to care for throughout the year. Thank you.